Welcome to the first episode of our story series. The series will include both short stories for adults and children's stories. Some of the stories will be those that have been published before, and other stories will be as yet unpublished. And the idea is to resurrect the tradition of storytelling. The first story I'm reading in this first episode is a short story for adults called Honeymoon. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I tried not to move any other body parts as I slid my eyes sideways to the brochure lying on the passenger seat. The cover pictured a smiling, sun-drenched family gazing toward a herd of elephants all incandescent in the sunrise. Or was it sunset? As they drank and frolicked in water that sparkled with reflected light. A loud humph made me jump in spite of my resolve to remain frozen in place. How could such an immense creature move with such stealth? He was definitely closer than before. His small eyes regarded me knowingly, eyes that gleamed with an almost human intelligence. Or was it wickedness? Surely not laughter. I had no idea elephants had such long eyelashes. He was swinging his trunk up and down, up toward the windshield, almost as if he was pointing it at me in mockery, where I sat rigid and slick with sweat behind the steering wheel, down between his front legs, up again, dragging through the dust which he threw out in little puffs before pointing his trunk back at me and swinging it down again. All the while his ears flapped out and back and out again like two enormous palm leaf fans on a lazy tropical afternoon. I did not understand elephant body language. It was not something I thought I needed to know. The brochure promised 3 nights in luxury accommodation, along with a self-drive safari through a malaria-free wildlife park. The pictures looked idyllic, and the reviews on the website were glowing. Off-season rates were reasonable, and the long flight from New York via Amsterdam to Cape Town and Port Elizabeth seemed well worth the opportunity to see the splendor of Africa. Now, it seemed, I may not survive the experience. At intervals, he kicked at the dust with one gargantuan foot, a foot that could probably crunch through the hood and crush the engine in an instant. Not to mention the giant tusks that could pop the windshield like a balloon and impale me to my seat. When he first materialized, I had been mesmerized by the size and the majesty of him. He looked so entirely at ease with himself, in command of his unrivaled strength. I expected him to cross the road and continue his journey through the bush on the other side, but instead he had stopped in the middle of the road and turned to face me. Rather than moving off, he had lumbered closer and closer until I began to feel crowded by his enormity. It was then that I decided I'd had enough. It was time to put the car in reverse and get out of here. But in the angst of the moment, driving an unfamiliar stick shift with the steering wheel and gear lever on the wrong side, I forgot to depress the clutch. Instead of gliding backwards, there was a grinding sound from the gears, and the car lurched and stalled. That's when the ear flapping and trunk swaying and dust kicking had started. If I had not stripped the gears, I may still have a chance of getting away. But to find out, I needed to restart the car. which was impossible given that my slightest movement seemed to prompt him to step in closer. So much for my honeymoon. After being ditched at the altar, I had decided to take the trip anyway, both to escape my humiliation and to salvage whatever dregs remained from the dream wedding that never happened. I thought that things could not possibly get any worse. Now, it seemed, I could become a 10,000-pound elephant's version of Kick the Can. In spite of everything, I did want to live rather than die alone on a dusty bush road thousands of miles from home and on the wrong side of the Atlantic. My stomach rumbled loudly, partly from nerves, I suspect, but also because I had neglected to bring a packed lunch, and breakfast had been hours ago. The ranger had told me that early morning was the best time to see the animals. My plan was for the morning animal viewing, then back to the lodge for lunch and a dip in the pool, and then more animal watching in the cool of the afternoon. Speaking of rangers, where were they when you needed them anyway? Another sonorous rumble derailed this train of thought. Could adrenaline be activating so much digestive agitation? I did have rather a sensitive stomach, but I had never heard it gurgle that loudly before. Only when the sound came again did I realize that it emanated from outside of the car. The elephant was still flapping his ears in hypnotic rhythm. He was no longer swinging his trunk though, and instead it drooped downwards, almost brushing the dust. A twitch of movement from his rear end revealed his tail flicking from side to side. What now? He looked more thoughtful than angry. Was he contemplating his car-tossing strategy? I tried to clench my stomach muscles as once again my insides let loose a prodigious gurgle. Almost immediately a corresponding rumble issued from the beast in front of me. Was he hungry too, or rumbling back at me? What did it mean? A dog trainer once told me that staring into the eyes of an animal communicated aggression and could prompt an attack. At the time, we were talking about a chihuahua, but I had to assume that the principle also applied to elephants. Nevertheless, I risked another glance at his eyes. The gleam was gone, and they were now half closed, as if he was about to fall asleep right there in front of me. I felt tired and I felt hungry, but most of all, I felt abandoned and terrified. A sense of irretrievable loss flooded me, and I burst into tears. Instantly, the elephant's trunk came up, but rather than swinging it up and down, he held it periscope style, pointed straight at my face. My crying was only making things worse. He would surely attack me now. My stomach chose this moment to roil and rumble again, and again a corresponding rumble resonated from the elephant. Then his trunk stretched toward the windscreen and delicately probed the glass in front of my face. Before I could make sense of this, his head jerked up and he swiveled sideways, his right shoulder now looming in front of me, his ears spread wide, his eyes staring intently into the bush on the other side of the road. Startled, abandoning my tears and my vow of immobility, I snapped around to scour the landscape he scrutinized. A man emerged from the long grass, rifle at the ready. Internet images of slaughtered, mutilated elephants flooded through my memory, and my body reacted before reason took hold. In one streak, I was out of the car and standing in front of the elephant, my arms spread wide, mirroring his outstretched ears. No, if you want to kill this elephant and take his tusks, you will have to kill me too. The man lowered his gun. Ma'am, it's me, Lucy, the ranger you talked to last night. He paused, giving me time for this to sink in. Ma'am, you are not allowed to get out of your car here. Now you are standing in front of a very big elephant. My arms began to shake, drooping to my sides as my legs too began to quiver. Wouldn't you know it, my stomach chose this moment to join the action. Almost immediately from behind me came an answering reverberation. A buzz traversed my spine as something probed the back of my head, my shoulders, my torso. This day, this moment, I would surely die. At least I was not alone, but I would feel better if the idiot ranger would not just stand there grinning like that. Ma'am, just move very slowly and you will be fine. Today is your lucky day. If we are careful, Musa won't hurt you. She was once one of our orphans and we raised her. She lost her own baby a few months ago and she has been trying to take care of anything or anyone she can find ever since. He's a girl? Vusi's grin widened. She's a female, yes. I nodded. Of course, I should have noticed. Okay, I'm going to move her off and then we will both get in the car and I will drive you back to the lodge. Now that it was almost over, I suddenly didn't want it to end. I pivoted gradually on the spot and faced the elephant. I'm so sorry, Musa, and thank you. A puff of elephant breath blew my dust-streaked tears dry as the ranger stepped in. With a toss of her head, the elephant swayed off into the bush. I watched until the bush closed around her, and then she was gone. That's the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story, please hit the subscribe button below and keep a lookout for more stories to come. I will be posting one each week and will alternate between adult and children's stories.